Welcome once again to the Identity Summit 2025. Welcome once again. I am excited that we are doing this together. We are doing this together. God has a lot in stock for us. And today I'll be talking about on a topic that says awakening to the battle for our children's identity. Awakening to the battle for our children's identity. And I want you to do something. Put for me in the chat, in the comments. Let me know on a scale of 1 to 5, how aware are you of the identity battle your child faces? The question is, how aware are you of the identity battle your child faces on a scale of 1 to 5? 1 being that I don't know, I'm not even aware, I don't even know what we're talking about. What war is going on here? What are we fighting? Who are we fighting? So if that is you, that's a 1. But if you're very aware, you're very, very aware, sure, that will be a 5 as an extreme end. But you can put yourself on a scale from 1 to 5. How aware are you of the identity battle your child faces? If our moderators can put that question in the chat, that would be great. And I want people to give me, and I'm waiting to see what our responses are. Are you aware? Are you aware? 5, 5, 3. Somebody says 7. Oh, even past the scale. Thank you. 4, 3. Good, good. Awesome. 3, 3. We have a lot of 3 in there. All right. Yes. Some of us are aware. That is great. Some of us are midway. Yes, that's fine. Today, we are going to shed more light on that. So let's keep going. Now, what is the crisis? What are we talking about? And I love that Bumi was sharing some statistic, which is close to what I have here. And it says that over 70% of teens report identity-related anxiety and emotional struggles. Over 70% of teens. And these statistics are in our faces. We don't need to go far before we see them. They're everywhere. You can even Google and search. They're everywhere. 70%, that is 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10. 65% of teens first encounter gender ideology on social media before parents ever address it. Does that bother us? Before parents, ever address it. Now, this is the problem that we have. We have an entire generation drowning in an identity crisis. Entire generation of our children drowning in identity crisis. And these are not just numbers. These are children, your friends, your children's classmates. They are friends. These are children. So the statistic is there. And I'm also going to show you another quote. Here, Brian and Hunter said something. They said, in a world cluttered with opinions about gender, sexuality, race, and truth, we don't need to be louder. We need to be clearer. We as parents need to go beyond being loud. We need to now be clearer. They said, are we going to let culture frame the discussion for our children, or are we going to frame it? That's the question for you. That's the question you need to ponder on. Are we going to let the culture frame the discussion for our children, or are we as parents going to do that? While your child may not struggle with their gender identity, they will almost certainly struggle with who they will listen to, whether that is scripture or culture. And that is happening right now. Your own problem might not be gender identity issues, but there are a whole lot of attacks and issues. The culture is perpetrating an agenda, perpetrating information, and feeding our children. At some point, your children will have to decide which one to listen to, whether the Bible, whether the scripture, or the culture. They will decide that. So this is now saying, what should we be doing as parents? And when we talk about identity crisis, we want to know that identity attack is an age-long strategy of the devil. It is an age-long strategy of the devil. It doesn't just happen now. It doesn't just start now. It's been ongoing for like ages. Now let me take you back to the story of Adam and Eve in the Bible. There, God created them. When we got into chapter 3, the devil showed up, the Satan and serpent showed up. And he said, he was asking the woman, to eat the fruit, asking, why will you not want to eat the fruit? And the woman said, God said we shouldn't. Do you know what the devil said? He said, for God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. You will be like God, knowing good and evil. In chapter 2, when they were being formed, God created man in his own image, in his own likeness. So they were actually like God. So what is the devil telling them? The serpent distorted God's identity and tempted Adam and Eve to achieve what they already possessed, what they already have. They're already like God. But he was telling them, it is this fruit that's going to make you. You're not yet like God. Telling them otherwise. That is the strategy of the enemy. He said, being made, the Adam and Eve were already made in God's likeness. So the enemy tries to attack identity. It happened with Jesus as well. Remember in the story of Jesus when he fasted for 40 days and 40 nights. And after that, the enemy came, the devil came to tempt him. 3 times the devil came and said, if you are the Son of God, 3 times, if you are the Son of God, command this stone to turn into bread. If you are the Son of God, do this and that. What was the devil trying to attack? Jesus' identity. A few chapters before that, we're told how John the Baptist baptized Jesus, and a voice from heaven came and said, this is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. He is God's Son. That is his identity. But the enemy comes and then starts to make him question who he was. If you are the Son of God, if you are the Son of God, God already established that. And that same tactics, that same strategy is still at play today. This is one thing that the enemy knows. If your child doubts who they are in God, they will leave what the culture says they can be. Once the enemy succeeds in derailing identity, distorting your identity, it can derail purpose. Because our identity is tied to purpose. Identity is tied to purpose. Your children's identity is tied to their purpose, who they are, who God says they are. It's not far-fetched. From the scripture, they can see exactly who God says they are. God was talking about, he said, before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you. So it's not something that the culture would dictate to us. It is not something that someone would start to tell us, this is who you should be. Right now, there's a whole lot of confusion that children don't even know who they belong to, where they are, how to feel, how to behave. And I want to say that this is all, perpetrated deliberately. Which takes me to the next slide. The attacks that we're talking about, they are deliberate, they're planned, they're executed and monitored. And I'm here to demonstrate that to you. These attacks are deliberate, they're planned, they're executed, and they're monitored. Now, one of the things that we need to know is that the world is governed by interest and ideologies. The world is governed by interest and ideologies. You might have heard people belonging to the liberal or the conservative and different other, political parties or different ideologies all around. There are people that are influential, very rich, they have resources, they have agenda, they have interest. And ideologies are perpetrated through agendas. And then these are, carefully orchestrated, carefully planned and executed. Now, I'll show you, I've just put some screen grabs from an organization called GLAD. GLAD is the world's largest LGBTQ media advocacy organization. And they publish annual reports every year. The title is Where We Are. What does that mean? And they have tracked this record for more than 27 years. I'm going to read what I have on the screen in green. GLAD attracts lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer characters for 27 years. For 27 years, and many of us are not aware of something is happening. And this edition marks our 18th study since expanding that focus into what is now called Where We Are on TV. Where We Are on TV report. So they do this report every year. I will not bother you with what is in gray, but I will go to that which is in yellow. And they're very proud of their result. And if you look at what is happening in our culture today, you also, say that they've really gone to work. They've really worked. They've worked. They said, alongside this progress, there have been wins in storytelling, including the introduction of TV's first trans superhero. Who is the target audience for superhero? You can answer that question. They've introduced a story about a trans superhero. Pulse shining a spotlight on trans and queer lives and found family. And the launch of 3 GLAD Media Award categories honoring the outstanding LGBTQ storytelling and programming for kids and families, for kids and families, for kids and families. Some people have sat down, carefully planned, execute, monitoring what we now see on our social media, in TVs, in all the programs and everything that we sit down to watch with our children, and what you give your children to watch without even looking back. Look at the other graph there, the other table there. Data person, sorry. Look at the table there. It's telling you about streamers and how many LGBTQ characters they have in there. This is not just random. Carefully planned, carefully, put together and executed. On Netflix, they tell you how many they have. On Amazon, and Disney, Apple TV Prime, on all of those, you have the numbers in there. That tells you, you give our children all of these things to consume. We need to be able to see what is happening. Now, the last one I want to say here, without wasting my time too much, it says, over half of all LGBTQ characters across platforms are people of color. People of color includes Black people, whether you're in US, you're in Canada, you're in UK, even Nigeria, anywhere you are in Africa. People of color. There are people with this agenda. There is a whole lobby group with money sponsoring all of these things. What am I telling us? The people of the world are deliberate. How deliberate are you? People put their money on the line to harvest the hearts and minds of children. Where are you putting your own money? Which agenda are you supporting? Now, let's go. So I'm not going to waste too much time on this because of our time. This is just showing 7 deliberate attacks against children. So not only gender, I'll tell you a whole lot of things quickly. The first one there is gender ideologies in schools. So this, in many schools, they teach gender is fluid. It's fluid, which means that it can change up and down. You can be this today, you can be that tomorrow. And sex is assigned. So your gender at birth, a child, when we say male or female, That's nothing to them. They say he's assigned. That's not who you are. So all of these things have been perpetrated and they've been, taught, and your children cannot even sit out of these classes. If you know, I've worked in schools. And I've seen what happened. I've worked where we track data of all of these things. All right. The other one is sexualization via media and apps. There's normalization of pornography and all of. We have 5 years old, 7 years old now addicted to porn. And that's a whole ball game. That's a whole discussion on its own. There are multi-billion-dollar industries sponsoring to ensure that children encounter pornography as early as they could. There's LGBTQ affirmation mandates there. So you just need to affirm. If a child said, this is who I am, you just need to affirm them. And people that are working in those organizations are really mandated to affirm, and all of that. There's addiction and substance abuse, which leads to destructive behaviors, emotional distance, and all of that. There's mental health crisis. I won't waste time. There's anti-Christian bias in the media, in education, everywhere. The culture is hostile to Christianity, and your children are growing up as Christians. Hey, how do you want them to live out their faith if we don't pay attention to all of this? There's subtle spiritual attacks at home when we are too busy, to pay attention to what really matters. There is that, spiritual weakness that we see at home. Let's move forward. In all of this, God is sending me to tell you, do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. This is not about fear at all. This summit is not going to awaken fear in anybody. This summit is going to awaken courage in us to take action. Nehemiah chapter 4 verse 14 says, don't be afraid of them. Do not be afraid of them. Remember the Lord, who is great and awesome. Who is great and awesome. Who is great and awesome. The Lord your God is great and awesome. Do not be afraid. Well, you must do something. It says fight. Fight for your families, your sons and your daughters. Fight. If there was a battle in the time of Nehemiah, there's more battle here for us. There's nobody today that will raise a godly seed, a godly child, without having to fight for it. You can't parent by default. You will have to fight for it because there's so many things contending for the attention of your children. And you cannot fight if you do not realize what is at stake. And that's one of the purposes of this summit, to awaken us from slumber. To say some people are planning and harvesting children without us knowing while we were busy. So it's for you to rise and to fight. And I'm also going to move quickly to the messages that I was given. But before that, I will say, what is the cost? The cost of inaction. We've seen the percentages. If you don't do anything, 61% of church teens become spiritually disengaged by their 20s. This is happening. Children are getting to university and they're losing their faith. People will send kids to school abroad from Africa, and then you come put them in a culture that you don't even know. And before you know it, we're hearing all sorts of things. Now, only 19% of Christian teens regularly talk faith with their parents. If that is where we are, there's trouble. And I love what Natasha Crane said here. A lack of robust spiritual training has resulted in a featherweight faith blown away by attacks from our secular culture. There's so much attacks are shown us. But if we don't take discipleship and leadership of our children very seriously, they're easily blown away. And remember, these are supposed to be the leaders of tomorrow, the church leaders of tomorrow. How are we raising them? Are we raising them on screens? Screens that has been polluted. So the long-term implication is a whole generation abandoning faith. They redefine what faith, what truth is. And we're raising a whole generation without Christ. This is a call for us to awaken. Now, if you have not listened to anything I've said before, please pay attention to it, because this is a message I was giving you. I was giving to say, parents are stewards and we are shepherds. What does stewardship mean? Stewardship, not ownership. It means that your children are God's property on loan. Your children are not yours. Children are the heritage of the Lord. They are not ours. We are only caretakers, temporary managers. And Jesus demonstrated that to us in the story of the talents, right? The parable of the talents. He will give you something, to be a custodian of, and he will come back and ask you. So it means that we are going to give account what we do or we do not do with our children, the time we created or we did not create, the gadgets you give them or did not give them, the program you expose them to or you did not. So there are 5 ways I want to quickly share with us to steward well. You have to know the owner. If you're here, you don't even know the owner of your children. You have not started. That's where we need to start from. You cannot leave them to God you don't even follow or you don't know. You need to recognize your own role. Parenting is a calling. Parenting is a calling, not convenience. We need to point them to Christ. Many of us are too busy. We don't even pay attention to our spiritual life. We need to point them. You need to grow them. Don't overprotect. You grow them, you prepare them, because you are going to release them to the person that owns them. Because we will give account. Prepare them. Prepare warriors. We are not raising fragile people. Prepare them. Because when we don't prepare our children, then they start to run away. They start to run away from the battles they were meant, to conquer. So you need to then release them to God. Release them for God's purpose. They are not yours. They are not yours. And you will give account. You will give account. As a shepherd, there was a warning in Ezekiel 34. He was talking about shepherds. Please go and read that passage. There's so much more, but we don't have that time. It was saying that you eat the fats. You eat the best of that animal. You use their skin for whatever you want to use it for. The milk, the meat, you roast it. You do all of those. You clothe yourself with the wool, but you do not feed the sheep. You do not feed the sheep. What does that mean in our own contemporary time? If I must read that quickly to you, it says, Son of man, prophesy against the shepherd leader of Israel. Yes, prophesy. Tell those shepherds. God the Master says, doom to you, shepherds of Israel, feeding your own mouth. You aren't shepherds supposed to feed sheep? You drink the milk. You make clothes from the wool. You roast the lamb, but you do not feed the sheep. You don't build up the weak ones among them. Some of our children are weak. We don't build them up. You don't heal the sick. You don't doctor the injured. You don't go after the strays. Some of our children have gone, astray. We give up on them too quickly. You don't look for the lost. You bully and badger them, and now they are scattered everywhere. Our children are scattered everywhere. God is calling us back to our role as a shepherd. And that could mean different things in our own contemporary times. Parents prioritizing their own comfort, image, and agenda, as long as your children make you look good, over your children's spiritual vitality. We chase our careers, which is good. I do that as well. But there can be balance. We chase hobbies, social media likes, perfect pictures out there, but our children are drowning in TikTok. We fail to give children daily biblical truth. When was the last time we opened the Bible together and teach them? This is what God is saying. You allow them to be scattered everywhere. We can go on exorbitant holidays and spend money, but we don't buy Christian books and apps and things for our children. And we don't even subscribe to those programs that will also enlighten us as well as parents. This is what God said I should tell you. So God said, this is your role as a shepherd. 4 quick actions as I'm rounding up. Spiritual nourishment. You feed your kids. You feed them spiritual nourishment. Then you seek, know their hearts. Don't just talk about grades as long as they're good, extracurricular activities. Their hearts, what's happening there? A child says, I don't feel loved in this house, and we just commonize that. You don't, if you have not, to start to look at the root cause and look at what is happening beneath the surface. Our role is to bind up, heal the wounds, don't ignore them, protect, create a pasture of truth in the midst of lies in the culture. These are our roles as parents. As I round up my last slide, I want you to declare with me, this summit is not going to awaken fear in you. It's going to give you tools and strategy, equip you, and it's left to you to take action. Number one, I declare, I will, wherever you are, please declare this loudly. Say, I will not defend the battle I was born to defeat. I will not excuse dysfunction. I will destroy strongholds of the enemy. In the name of Jesus, I will not be displaced from my duty. I will not be displaced from my duty. My children will be shot like arrows and win battles for God. God's hand is upon my children. He will give me strategies. My family rises and shines. Our light has come, and the glory of the Lord has risen over us. We move from fear to faith, from overwhelm to victory. And by God's grace, we will win the battle for the next generation.